Welcome to this week's vlog for Jump Out of Bed. My name is Pauline Perot and I am the Chief Engagement Officer. One thing that I wanted to talk to you about this week is communication, and I can tell you that in every single consulting or coaching engagement that I get involved with clients, this topic always comes up in one shape or form. And I think it's something that as human beings, we always need to strive to adding one more tool to our tool basket in terms of improving how we communicate. The most simple and eloquent definition of communication that I have ever heard comes from Preston Pond and Roger Allen. These two, by the way, are gentlemen that had taught the late Stephen Covey, so you've got to know that this stuff is good. And the definition that they shared quite simply is communication is when message sent equals message received. And if you think about that, that really sums up what this is all about and why it's so important, because I think most of us are really, really good at that left-hand side of the equation. We run around sending messages on our daily basis. We leave people voice messages, we fire off emails, we get into conversations with people face to face, and we send, probably not exercising our muscle on that right-hand side of the equation, and that is the message received part, and checking in whether or not what we said is actually what the person understood. I took a sales course from Sandler Sales, which if you're in the sales world, by the way, I would highly recommend, and I don't get, this is not a paid promotion, but one of the things that Sandler talked about that I think makes total sense is they called this area was mutual mystification. It's such a mouthful, I can't even say it. Mutual mystification. And in the sales process, how often do we see people getting into communication challenges as well? And that's really when two parties or more are sitting together and there is a misunderstanding of what's being said, even though the words that we choose to talk about might be very simple. It's exactly message sent equals message received, except when we get into when we get into situations where there's difficulty, it's often because we haven't spent the time to go back and see whether or not the intention and the underlying meaning of our message was actually picked up in the way that we delivered it. I mean, think back to the conversations that you've already had today, however long your day's been unfolding thus far. Have you been really, really clear as you can be on the sending part, but have you stopped in and actually checked in with the person to see whether or not it made sense to them and they picked up what you were putting down, so to speak? I know in the communication process, it is so full of assumptions, right? I assume what you're going to say, or I assume I understand what you mean even before you're going to say it. I assume, oh yeah, we've had this conversation before. I know she's going to say this or he means this, and therefore maybe I stop really truly listening and I start to fill in the blanks with some sort of assumptions because maybe you and I have been down this path before. So assumptions make this a really difficult part for us. A simple turnaround for this, and this is a skill that I have been really practicing on exercising myself this last year, is checking in with people. And I've come up with a couple different things that I'll say, like, hey, you know what, sometimes I'm really enthusiastic or I know I speak too fast. Could you share with me what you've picked up so far, what makes sense to you? And it gives them a chance to process what they've heard from me and also what they've picked up, and then I get a chance to either say, yep, that's totally great, or sorry, it was my fault. I don't think I clearly explained this part, and then I can re-explain the areas where I either lost them, and it's really easy for me to take the pressure off of them and resend the message in a way that will make more sense to them. And the last thing I would say about this, and if you're like me, I know that I speak fast, and some of this is just slowing down, not only slowing down the tempo by which that you speak, but also just slowing down and honoring your conversation partner and checking in. So a takeaway of action for you this week as you go through your various conversations and you're communicating with people, whether it's on email, voicemail, text messaging, or in person, take a moment and just see how the message is received by them. Is it the message that you intended on sharing? And hopefully by having this check-in process, you can avoid what my sales trainer called mutual mystification. That's the idea for this week. Look forward to hearing about your updates. Please drop me a comment in the box below. I would love to hear your thoughts on how you're progressing with this or the challenges that you're having equally when you're communicating at work. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk to you next week.